The alarm screamed through the Zephyrian deep space monitoring station like an angry beast. Commander Vextal's four arms moved quickly across the control panels as red lights flashed everywhere. His large, dark eyes focused on the main screen, where numbers were jumping around like crazy. "What is happening?" he asked in his deep voice. His second-in-command, Officer Thixon, was already checking the sensors with her thin fingers dancing over the controls. "Sir, we have detected something very strange," Thixon said. Her voice sounded worried. "There is a ship moving at the edge of our space. But the speed readings, they cannot be right." Vextal walked over to her station. His heavy boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. The monitoring station was huge, floating in the dark space between star systems. Its job was to watch for any ships that might be dangerous to the Galactic Coalition. For 200 years, nothing exciting had happened here. "Show me the readings," Vextal said. Thixon pressed some buttons and the main screen changed. Now, it showed a small dot moving across a map of space. Numbers appeared next to the dot. When Vextal saw them, his eyes went wide. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Check the sensors again. They must be broken." "I already checked them 3 times, sir. The sensors are working perfectly." Thixon looked at her commander with worry in her eyes. "That ship is moving faster than our best military vessels, much faster." Vextal stared at the screen. The little dot was moving so fast that it would cross their entire sector in just a few hours. No ship in the galaxy could do that. Even the Coalition's most advanced warships needed days to make the same trip. "Get me a visual," he ordered. Officer Zixpal, the young communications expert, worked his controls. "I am trying, sir. The ship is very far away and moving very fast." "Wait. I think I have something." The screen flickered and then showed a fuzzy picture. Vextal and his crew looked at it in silence. What they saw made no sense at all. The ship looked like junk. It was small, maybe 50 meters long, and seemed to be made from different pieces of metal stuck together. Parts of it were shiny and new, while other parts looked old and dirty. Strange tubes and wires stuck out from its sides. It looked like someone had built it in their backyard using whatever they could find. "This cannot be right," Vextal said. "That thing looks like it should fall apart, not fly faster than our best ships." "Sir," Thixon said quietly, "I am reading massive energy output from that vessel. The power levels they are higher than anything in our databases. That is impossible. A ship that small cannot produce that much power. Our biggest ships with the most advanced engines cannot make those readings." Young Zixpal looked up from his station. "Commander, I am getting strange readings from the ship's drive system. It does not match any known propulsion technology." Vextal walked back to his command chair. His mind was racing. In all his years of service, he had never seen anything like this. The Coalition had the most advanced technology in the galaxy. They had studied every known species and their ships, but this vessel was completely unknown. "Can you identify the species?" he asked. Zixpal worked his controls again. "I am trying. To scan for life signs?" "Yes, sir. There is one life form aboard. But the readings are strange. The creature seems to have only 2 arms and 2 legs. Very primitive body structure." "Show me what you can." The screen changed again. This time it showed a rough outline of a creature inside the ship. It was sitting in what looked like a pilot's seat. The creature was much smaller than any of them, and its body was simple compared to the advanced forms of Coalition species. "It looks so basic," Thixon said. "How can such a primitive creature build something that advanced?" "Maybe they did not build it," suggested Zixpal. "Maybe they stole it from someone else." Vextal shook his head. "No. Look at the ship again. It is clearly made by the same species. The controls, the seat, everything is built for that creature's body type." They all looked at the screen again. The strange ship was still moving at impossible speeds, leaving their sensors behind as it traveled deeper into Coalition space. "Sir," Thixon said, What should we do? This ship is heading toward the inner systems. If it maintains this speed, it will reach populated worlds within hours. Vextal thought for a moment. The rules were clear. Any unknown ship entering Coalition space had to be stopped and investigated. But how could they stop something moving? That fast? Send a message to Coalition Command, he ordered. Tell them we have detected an unknown vessel with technology that exceeds our understanding. Request immediate assistance. Yes, sir, Zixpal said, and began sending the message. Also, Vextal continued, try to contact the ship directly. Use all standard greeting frequencies. Sir, at that speed and distance, any message will take time to reach them. Do it anyway. As his crew worked, Vextal stared at the screen. The small ship continued its impossible journey through space. Every few minutes, the sensors picked up new energy readings that made no sense. The ship's power output kept changing, as if the pilot was constantly adjusting something. Commander, Thixon said, I have been studying the energy patterns. They are not steady like our ships. The power keeps going up and down, and the drive system seems to be... I do not know how to describe it. It is like the pilot is making changes while flying. Making changes to the drive system while traveling at those speeds? Vextal's voice showed his disbelief. That would be incredibly dangerous. One mistake could destroy the ship. Yes, sir. But the readings show that is exactly what is happening. Vextal sat down heavily in his command chair. Everything about this situation went against everything he knew. Ships were built by engineers and scientists who spent years designing every part. Once built, they flew the same way every time. You did not change the drive system while flying, especially not at such high speeds. Sir, Zixpal called out, I am receiving a response from Coalition Command. They are sending the research vessel Infinite Wisdom to investigate. They want us to keep tracking the unknown ship. How long until the Infinite Wisdom arrives? Maximum speed. 12 hours, sir. Vextal looked at the screen again. In 12 hours, the strange ship would be long gone, but maybe they could learn something by watching it. Keep all sensors on that ship, he ordered. Record everything. I want to know how it moves so fast, and I want to know what species built it. Yes, sir. As the hours passed, the crew of the monitoring station watched in amazement. The small ship continued to move at impossible speeds, its energy readings constantly changing. Sometimes it would slow down, make what looked like repairs or adjustments, and then speed up again. It is like watching someone fix their ship while driving it, Thixon said. No one is that crazy, Vexapal replied. But as they watched, it became clear that was exactly what was happening. The unknown ship and its mysterious pilot had just changed everything they thought they knew about space travel. And this was only the beginning. The Coalition research vessel, Infinite Wisdom, was a giant among ships. It was 3 kilometers long and filled with the best scientists in the galaxy. When Dr. Kelnara received the emergency call, she was studying ancient ruins on a distant planet. Now she stood on the bridge of the massive ship looking at the data from the monitoring station. This makes no sense, she said, looking at the readings again. Dr. Kelnara was the Coalition's best expert on primitive species. She had studied hundreds of different cultures and their technologies, but nothing had prepared her for this. Captain Morden, the ship's commander, stood beside her. His 6 arms were crossed as he studied the same information. How can a primitive species build something that fast? Maybe they are not as primitive as we think, Dr. Kelnara said. She was a tall, thin creature with large eyes that could see many different colors. Her people, the Veltari, were known for their intelligence and careful thinking. The monitoring station says the ship looks like junk, Captain Morden said. Pieces of metal stuck together with no clear design. Sometimes the most advanced solutions look simple, Dr. Kelnara replied. We need to see this for ourselves. The Infinite Wisdom was moving as fast as it could, but the strange ship was still hours ahead of them. Dr. Kelnara used the time to study everything they knew about the mysterious vessel. "Look at these power readings," she said to her assistant, Dr. Pexham. "The energy output changes every few minutes. No coalition ship does that." "Maybe their technology is unstable," Dr. Pexham suggested. He was young and still learning about different species. "Or maybe it is very advanced in a way we do not understand," Dr. Kelnara said. "We build our ships to work the same way every time. But what if this species builds ships that can change while they fly?" Captain Morden joined their conversation. "Dr. Kelnara, we have new information. The monitoring station says the ship has slowed down. It seems to be waiting for us." "Waiting?" Dr. Kelnara was surprised. "How do they know we are following them?" "Unknown. But sensors show the ship has reduced speed and is moving in a pattern that suggests they want to meet us." Dr. Kelnara felt excited and nervous at the same time. This was why she became a scientist, to discover new things. "How long until we reach them?" 2 hours at current speed." "Good. Prepare the contact protocols. We need to be ready for anything." 2 hours later, the infinite wisdom came close to the strange ship. When Dr. Kelnara saw it with her own eyes, she gasped. The vessel was even more unusual than the pictures showed. It really did look like someone had built it from scrap metal. Different parts were different colors and materials. Some sections looked new, while others seemed very old. Strange pipes and wires connected everything together. It should have been ugly, but somehow it looked functional. "Begin scanning," Dr. Kelnara ordered. The science team worked their instruments. Numbers and pictures appeared on screens all around the bridge. What they found amazed everyone. "Dr. Kelnara," called out Dr. Zexara, the ship's engineer. "These readings cannot be correct. This ship should not be able to fly." "What do you mean?" "The hull is made from at least 12 different metals. The drive system uses 3 different power sources that should not work together. The whole ship violates basic engineering principles." "But it does work," Dr. Kelnara said. "It flies faster than our best ships." "That is what I do not understand. According to our science, this ship should explode the moment it starts its engines." Captain Morden looked worried. "Could it be dangerous? Maybe their technology is unstable." Before Dr. Kelnara could answer, the communications officer called out, "I am receiving a transmission from the unknown vessel." "Put it on speakers," Captain Morden ordered. Static filled the bridge, and then they heard a voice. It was unlike any voice they had heard before. It was rough and strong, with strange sounds they did not recognize. "Hey there, big ship," the voice said. "Name's Jake Morrison. I'm guessing you folks want to talk, seeing as how you've been chasing me for hours." Dr. Kelnara looked at her team in surprise. The alien was speaking in a very casual way, as if meeting giant alien ships was a normal thing. "This is Dr. Kelnara, of the Coalition research vessel Infinite Wisdom," she replied. "We represent the Galactic Coalition. Your species is unknown to us." "Well, that makes sense," Jake said with what sounded like laughter. "We haven't been out here very long. I'm human, by the way, from a planet called Earth." "Human," Dr. Kelnara repeated the strange word. "We would like to learn about your people and your technology." "Sure thing, Doc. Want to come aboard? Fair warning, though, my ship isn't as fancy as yours." Dr. Kelnara looked at Captain Morden. They had never had first contact go this smoothly. Most new species were either afraid or aggressive when they met the Coalition. "Is it safe?" Captain Morden asked. "I think so," Dr. Kelnara said. "Prepare a shuttle." An hour later, Dr. Kelnara and a small team flew over to the human ship in a Coalition shuttle. When they docked, they had to crawl through a small opening that Jake had made for them. Inside the ship, everything was even stranger. Wires and pipes ran everywhere. Lights of different colors blinked on control panels that looked like they were built from many different machines. Everything was cramped and looked temporary. Jake Morrison was waiting for them in what seemed to be the main room. When Dr. Kelnara saw him, she was surprised again. He was much smaller than any coalition species, with only 2 arms and 2 legs. His skin was pale and hair grew on his head. He wore simple clothes that looked worn and dirty. "Welcome aboard the Lucky Strike," Jake said with a big smile. "Sorry about the mess. I've been working on the engines all week." "Your ship is very interesting," Dr. Kelnara said carefully. Jake laughed. "You mean it looks like junk?" "Yeah, I know. But she flies fast and that's what matters." "How do you achieve such speed?" Dr. Pexham asked. "Our scans show your technology should not work." "Well," Jake said, scratching his head, "I'm not really an engineer. I just fix things until they work better. See this drive system here?" He pointed to a mass of machinery that seemed to be held together with metal wire and hope. Dr. Kelnara looked at it with her scientific eyes. It was the most chaotic piece of technology she had ever seen. "How does it function?" "Honestly, I'm not totally sure," Jake said. "I took a regular coalition drive, found it floating in space after a battle, and mixed it with some human tech and a few things I invented myself. Took me 3 months of trial and error to get it working." "Trial and error?" Dr. Kelnara was shocked. "You experimented with drive technology without knowing what would happen?" "How else do you learn?" Jake asked, as if it was obvious. "I probably blew up 6 or 7 engines before I got this one right." The coalition scientists looked at each other in horror. Experimenting with drive technology was incredibly dangerous. One mistake could kill everyone on the ship. "But you could have died," Dr. Pexham said. "Yeah, probably," Jake agreed. "But I didn't, and now I can fly faster than anyone else. Want to see how it works?" Before anyone could say no, Jake started explaining his modifications. As he talked, Dr. Kelnara realized something that changed everything she thought she knew about technology and intelligence. This human, Jake Morrison, was not primitive at all. He was just different. Very different. Dr. Kelnara spent 3 days studying Jake's ship, and every hour brought new surprises. The more she learned about human technology, the more confused she became. Everything Jake had built should have been impossible, but it worked perfectly. "Show me the power coupling again," she asked Jake for the 10th time that day. Jake grinned and crawled under a control panel. "See, this is where I connected the coalition power core to my own battery system. Took me weeks to figure out how to make them work together." Dr. Kelnara looked at the connection. It was a mess of wires, metal pieces, and some kind of sticky substance she could not identify. According to everything she knew about engineering, this should have caused a massive explosion. "What is this material you use to hold it together?" she asked. "Oh, that's just some stuff I made from ship repair paste and metal filings," Jake said casually. "Works great for connecting things that weren't meant to be connected." Dr. Pexham, who had been taking notes, looked up with wide eyes. "You created a new material by mixing random substances?" "Random?" Jake looked confused. "It wasn't random. I needed something that could conduct electricity but also hold things together. So I mixed different things until I found something that worked." "But how did you know it would work?" Dr. Kelnara asked. "I didn't. I tried it and it worked. If it didn't work, I would have tried something else." Dr. Kelnara sat back and thought about this. In coalition science, you planned everything carefully before you built it. You ran computer simulations and tested every part. You never just mixed things together to see what happened. "Jake," she said slowly, "how do humans usually build things?" "Well, it depends on what you're building," Jake said, coming out from under the panel. "If it's something important like a house or a big ship, you plan it out. But for stuff like this, you just start building and fix problems as you find them." "That sounds very dangerous." "Sometimes it is," Jake agreed. "But you learn a lot more when things go wrong. My grandfather always said you can't discover new ways if you're afraid to break old things." Dr. Kelnara was writing down everything Jake said. This was the most important discovery of her career. How many humans are out here in space? Oh, thousands by now, Jake said. Maybe tens of thousands. We've been spreading out from Earth for about 50 years. Every family builds their own ship and goes wherever they want. Every family builds their own ship? Dr. Pexham almost dropped his note-taking device. Sure. It's not that hard once you learn the basics. My dad taught me, his dad taught him. We've been building things for generations. Dr. Kelnara felt her mind spinning. In the Coalition, only trained engineers could build spacecraft. It took years of education and testing before someone was allowed to work on important technology. Jake, I need to ask you something important, she said. Are all human ships like yours? Like mine, how? Built from different parts and modified while flying? Jake laughed. Oh no, mine's pretty normal actually. You should see my cousin Terry's ship. He's got engines that run on 3 different fuel types, and he can change the shape of his hull while he's flying. Now that's impressive. Change the shape of the hull? Dr. Kelnara could barely speak. Yeah, for different types of space travel. Big and slow for carrying cargo, small and fast for racing. Pretty smart, right? Dr. Kelnara looked at Dr. Pexham. They were both thinking the same thing. The Coalition had been building the same types of ships for thousands of years. Each design was perfect for one specific job, but could never be changed. Can you show me how to contact other human ships? Dr. Kelnara asked. Sure thing, Doc. Jake led them to his communication system. Like everything else on his ship, it looked like it was built from spare parts. But when he turned it on, voices filled the air from dozens of different sources. This is the Stellar Wanderer calling anyone in the Vex system. I've got engine trouble and could use some advice. Wanderer, this is Iron Horse. What kind of trouble? My fusion mix is running too hot. I tried adjusting the magnetic bottles, but it's getting worse. Try reducing your fuel flow by 10% and increasing your cooling cycle. That worked for me last month. Thanks, Iron Horse. I'll give it a try. Dr. Kelnara listened in amazement. Human pilots were sharing technical information and helping each other solve problems in real time. In the Coalition, if you had engine trouble, you went to a certified repair station and waited for trained technicians. They help each other? She asked. Of course, Jake said. We're all out here trying to make our ships work better. If someone finds a good trick, they share it. That's how we all learn. Another voice came through the communication system. Anyone know how to soup up a Coalition drive core? I found one, but it's too slow for what I need. Hey, Jake, you there? Came another voice. Didn't you figure that out? Jake picked up the microphone. Yeah, I'm here. You need to bypass the safety limiters and add a secondary power feed, but be careful. If you push it too hard, it'll blow up. Thanks, Jake. I'll be careful. Dr. Kelnara stared at Jake. You are teaching other humans how to modify Coalition technology? Sure. Why wouldn't I? Because... Dr. Kelnara struggled to find words. Because that technology took us centuries to develop. It is protected by safety systems for important reasons. Well, yeah, the safety systems are there for a reason, Jake agreed. They keep the drives from working at full power. They keep them from exploding. That too, Jake said with a grin. You just have to be smart about which safety systems you really need. Over the next hour, Dr. Kelnara listened to more human communications. She heard pilots sharing modifications, warning each other about dangerous areas of space, and discussing new discoveries. It was like listening to a galaxy-wide conversation between engineers who were all working on the same project. Jake, she said finally, I think I need to understand something. How do humans view technology? Jake thought for a moment. Well, technology is just tools, right? Tools are meant to be used, and if they don't work the way you need them to, you modify them until they do. But what if you break them? Then you fix them or build new ones. That's how you learn what works and what doesn't. Dr. Kelnara realized that humans and coalition species had completely different relationships with technology. Coalition species built things to last forever and work perfectly. Humans built things to be changed, improved, and adapted. Dr. Kelnara, Dr. Pexham said quietly, "I have been scanning human communications from across this sector. There are thousands of ships out there, and everyone has a different design." "How is that possible?" she asked. "Because every human pilot is also an engineer," Jake said. "We don't just fly our ships, we constantly make them better." Dr. Kelnara looked around Jake's ship again. She had thought it looked chaotic and primitive. Now she realized it was something else entirely. It was a workshop, a laboratory, and a home all at the same time. Jake didn't just live in his ship. He was always working to improve it. "Jake," she said, "I need to ask you for a big favor." "Sure, Doc. What do you need?" "I need you to teach us." Jake looked surprised. "Teach you what?" "Everything. How you think about problems, how you build things, how you make technology work better." Dr. Kelnara paused. "I think humans know something that we have forgotten." "What's that?" "How to innovate." Jake smiled. "Well, I'm not much of a teacher, but I'll try. When do we start?" Dr. Kelnara looked at Dr. Pexham, who nodded enthusiastically. "Right now," she said. 3 weeks later, Dr. Kelnara stood in the largest laboratory on the Infinite Wisdom and stared at something that should not exist. On the table in front of her was a piece of coalition technology that had been modified using human techniques. It was working better than the original design, and she had no idea how. "Run the test again," she told Dr. Pexham. Her assistant activated the device. Numbers appeared on the screen showing power output, efficiency, and stability. All the numbers were higher than they should be. "It is still working at 130% of normal efficiency," Dr. Pexham said with wonder in his voice. "That is impossible," said Dr. Zexara, the ship's chief engineer. "I designed that component myself. It cannot work better than I built it to work." Jake, who was sitting nearby eating something called a sandwich, looked up. "Why not?" "Because I calculated. The perfect balance of all the parts. Every piece is exactly the right size and strength for maximum efficiency." "But what if perfect isn't actually perfect?" Jake asked. Dr. Zexara's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. "Perfect is perfect. That is what the word means. See, that's where." "We think differently," Jake said, taking another bite of his sandwich. "You built that thing to work perfectly under normal conditions. But what if the conditions change?" "Then you would need a different device for different conditions. Or," Jake said with a grin, "you could build one device that can change itself when conditions change." Dr. Kelnara looked at the modified component again. Jake had added 3 small parts that could adjust themselves based on power needs. When more power was needed, the device automatically changed its configuration. When less power was needed, it changed back. "This is adaptive technology," she said slowly. "I guess," Jake said. "I just call it smart engineering." Dr. Kelnara had been studying human technology for weeks now, and she was beginning to understand something incredible. Coalition science had spent thousands of years perfecting individual technologies. Each device was built to do one specific job as well as possible, but humans built devices that could do many jobs and adapt to new situations. "Jake, can you explain again how humans approach engineering problems?" Jake put down his sandwich and thought for a moment. "Well, first you figure out what you need the thing to do. Then you build something that does it, even if it's not perfect. Then you use it and see what problems come up. Then you fix those problems and make it better. And you keep doing that until it works really well. But what if you make it worse instead of better? Then you change it back and try something else. The important thing is to keep trying new things." Dr. Zexara looked frustrated. "But that takes so much time, and you might break things." "Yeah, you might," Jake agreed. "But you also might discover something amazing that no one thought of before." Dr. Kelnara walked over to her personal computer and pulled up a file she had been working on. It contained all her observations about human technology and thinking. Jake, I have been studying your people for weeks, and I think I understand something important about humans. What's that, Doc? You are not primitive, at all. Your technology is actually more advanced than ours in ways we never considered. Jake looked surprised. Really? But your ships are huge and powerful. You have technology we can't even understand. Yes, but all our technology does exactly what it was designed to do, nothing more. Your technology does what it was designed to do, and then it adapts to do other things too. Dr. Kelnara brought up an image on the wall screen. It showed two spaceships side by side. One was a coalition vessel with smooth lines and perfect symmetry. The other was a human ship that looked like a collection of random parts. Look at these two ships, she said. Which one is more advanced? Well, yours is bigger and probably faster, Jake said. But which one can be modified while flying? Which one can adapt to new situations? Which one can be repaired using materials? You find anywhere in space? Jake grinned. Okay, I see your point. Dr. Kelnara, Dr. Pexham said, are you saying that human technology is superior to coalition technology? Not superior, she replied. Different. We have been building technology to be perfect and permanent. Humans build technology to be flexible and improvable. Dr. Zexara crossed his arms. But our way is more reliable. Coalition ships work the same way for centuries without problems. That is true, Dr. Kelnara agreed. But they also cannot be improved. A coalition ship built 500 years ago works exactly the same as one built today. And that is good, is it? Dr. Kelnara asked. Jake, how long have humans been building spaceships? About 50 years, Jake said. And in those 50 years, how much have your ships improved? Jake thought about it. A lot. My grandfather's first ship could barely make it to the next star system. My ship can cross the galaxy. 50 years, Dr. Kelnara repeated. In 50 years, human spacecraft technology has advanced from basic interstellar travel to faster-than-light speeds that exceed our best military vessels. Dr. Zexara's eyes went wide. That is impossible. No, Dr. Kelnara said quietly. That is what happens when you build technology that can be improved instead of technology that is already perfect. She turned to look at her entire science team, who had gathered to listen. I believe we have made the most important discovery in coalition history, she announced. We have found a species that has discovered how to make technology evolve. Evolve? Dr. Pexham asked. Yes. Every human ship is different because every human pilot improves their ship in their own way. The good improvements get shared with other humans, so the technology gets better and better over time. Jake nodded. That's why we talk to each other so much. If someone figures out a better way to do something, we all benefit. But in the coalition, Dr. Kelnara continued, once we perfect a technology, we stop trying to improve it. We use the same designs for centuries, because they work perfectly, Dr. Zexara insisted. But perfectly for what? Dr. Kelnara asked. Perfectly for the conditions they were designed for. But what happens when conditions change? What happens when you need to do something new? Dr. Zexara was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, you build new technology, which takes centuries of research and development, Dr. Kelnara said, while humans just modify what they already have and start using it immediately. Jake was watching this conversation with interest. You know, Doc, you're making it sound like we're geniuses or something. But really, we just don't like being told that something can't be improved. That, Dr. Kelnara said, might be the most important attitude in the universe. She turned back to her team. I want everyone to start new projects immediately. I want us to take coalition technology and try to improve it using human methods. Dr. Kelnara, Dr. Zexara said nervously. That could be dangerous. We could break things. Good, she said. If we break things, we will learn how to fix them better. Jake grinned and picked up his sandwich again. Now you're thinking like a human. Dr. Kelnara smiled back. For the first time in her career, she was excited about the possibility of failure. Because failure, she now understood, was just another word for learning. 6 months after first contact with Jake Morrison, the galaxy was in chaos. It was beautiful, exciting, terrifying chaos, but chaos all the same. Dr. Kelnara stood on the observation deck of the Coalition Capital Station and watched ships flying, in patterns she had never seen before. Some moved in perfect formation like always, but others weaved and danced through space like they were alive. These were the modified ships, coalition vessels that had been changed using human techniques. The Senate is very unhappy, said Senator Vex Morin, who had come to complain again. He was a tall, dignified member of the Altarian Council, and his people had been building the same perfect ships for over 3,000 years. I imagine they are, Dr. Kelnara replied calmly. Change is always uncomfortable at first. Comfortable? Dr. Kelnara, half the engineering schools in the galaxy are in revolt. Students are taking apart their equipment to improve it. 3 major shipyards have shut down because their workers refuse to build standard designs anymore. Dr. Kelnara tried not to smile. And how many new discoveries have been made in the last 6 months? Senator Vex Morin was quiet for a moment. That is not the point, isn't it? Senator, in the past 6 months, we have seen more technological advancement than in the previous 1,000 years. Coalition ships can now change their configurations in flight. Our communication systems can adapt to new conditions automatically. Our energy systems are 30% more efficient. But at what cost? The senator demanded. Order, stability, predictability, these things matter. Before Dr. Kelnara could answer, her communication device made a sound. Jake Morrison's voice filled the air. Hey, Doc, you there? I wanted to show you something cool. I am here, Jake. What have you discovered now? Well, you know how we've been working on that adaptive shield system? I think I figured out how to make it work with coalition power cores. Senator Vex Morin looked shocked. Who is that? And why is he speaking so casually to a senior scientist? That is Jake Morrison, Dr. Kelnara said, the human who started all of this. Jake, she said into her communicator, I am with Senator Vex Morin from the Coalition Senate. Perhaps you could explain what you have been working on. Oh, hey there, Senator. Jake's voice was cheerful and friendly. Nice to meet you. So anyway, I've been working with some of your engineers on this shield system that can change itself based on what's shooting at you. Change itself? Senator Vex Morin asked weakly. Yeah, so like, if someone shoots lasers at you, it becomes really good at stopping lasers. If they shoot missiles, it changes to be good at stopping missiles. Pretty neat, right? But how do you know it will work correctly? Well, we tested it a bunch of times. Blew up a few ships in the process, but that's how you learn what works and what doesn't. Senator Vex Morin looked like he was going to faint. You deliberately destroyed ships? Just old ones that weren't being used anymore. Don't worry. Nobody got hurt. Well, except for that one time when... Jake, Dr. Kelnara interrupted, perhaps you should show the senator your latest project instead. Oh, right. Senator, you should come see what we're building. It's going to change everything. An hour later, Dr. Kelnara and Senator Vex Morin were aboard a small shuttle heading toward the human construction zone. As they got closer, the senator stared out the window in disbelief. Humans and coalition citizens were working together on what looked like the strangest space station ever built. Parts of it looked like standard coalition architecture, clean lines and perfect geometry. But other parts looked completely chaotic, with tubes and cables running everywhere and sections that seemed to be constantly changing shape. What is that? Senator Vex Morin whispered. That, Dr. Kelnara said proudly, is the first adaptive space station. It can reconfigure itself based on what it needs to do. When they docked, Jake met them at the airlock. He was wearing work clothes covered in oil stains, and his hair was messy. Behind him stood Dr. Zexara, the coalition engineer who had been so skeptical 6 months ago. He was also covered in oil stains and looked happier than Dr. Kelnara had. Ever seen him? Senator, welcome to Project Changeling, Jake said enthusiastically. Want the grand tour? As they walked through the station, Jake and Dr. Zexara explained what they had built. The station could change its configuration depending on what it needed to do. It could become a research facility, a shipyard, a defensive fortress, or even a mobile base that could travel to different star systems. This is impossible, Senator Vex Morin kept saying. Stations cannot move. Stations are permanent structures. Well, yeah, that's what we thought too, Dr. Zexara said. But then Jake asked why they had to be permanent. Turns out there's no good reason except that's how we've always done it. They stopped at an observation window that looked out into space. Dozens of ships were flying around the station, some coalition designs and some human. But many were new, hybrid designs that combined the best of both technologies. Look at that, Jake said, pointing to a sleek ship that was approaching the station. That's the new Veltari Explorer ship. They took their traditional deep space design and added human. Adaptive systems. Now it can reconfigure itself for different types of exploration. Senator Vex Morin watched the ship as it docked. The Veltari agreed to modify their ships? Agreed? Dr. Kelnara laughed. Senator, they are leading the revolution. Dr. Bellanor, their chief scientist, says this is the most exciting time in Veltari history. But what about tradition? What about the proven ways of doing things? Jake scratched his head. Well, Senator, traditions are nice and all, but they're not very useful if they stop you from making things better. Jake, Dr. Zexara added. Show? Him! The communication grid. Jake led them to a control room filled with screens showing communication traffic from across the galaxy. But instead of the orderly official channels that the Coalition normally used, this looked like organized chaos. This is the new interspecies engineering network, Jake explained. Engineers from every Coalition species are sharing ideas and improvements in real time. Senator Vex Morin looked at the screens in horror. They are sharing classified technologies? Not classified, Dr. Kelnara corrected. Just previously restricted. We have discovered that when engineers can share ideas freely, innovation happens much faster. But what about quality control? What about safety regulations? Oh, we still have those, Dr. Zexara said. But now they're guidelines instead of absolute rules. If someone has an idea for improvement, they can try it out and share the results. And if it doesn't work? Then they share that too, Jake said. Learning what doesn't work is just as important as learning what does work. Senator Vex Morin sat down heavily in a chair. This is not how the galaxy is supposed to work. Maybe that's the problem, Dr. Kelnara said gently. Maybe the way the galaxy was supposed to work was holding us back. 6 months ago, the Coalition had the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Ships that worked perfectly for thousands of years, systems that never failed, designs that had been perfected over centuries. It was a beautiful, stable, predictable galaxy, but it was also a galaxy where nothing new ever happened. Now, every day brought new discoveries, ships that could think for themselves, stations that could move between stars, communication systems that adapted to make themselves better, energy systems that learned from experience. Senator, Dr. Kelnara said, I know this is frightening. Change always is. But look around you. In 6 months, we have made more progress than in the previous millennium. But at what cost? The senator asked again. Jake sat down next to him. Senator, can I tell you something my grandfather used to say? What? He said that the most dangerous thing in the universe isn't failure. It's the fear of failure, because when you're afraid to fail, you stop trying new things. And when you stop trying new things, you stop growing. Senator Vexamoran looked around the room at all the activity, all the controlled chaos of people, working together to build something new. "What if it all falls apart?" he asked quietly. "Then we'll fix it, and make it better," Jake said simply. "That's what we do." Dr. Kelnara smiled as she watched the senator slowly begin to understand. The galaxy would never be the same. It would be messier, more chaotic, more unpredictable. It would also be more alive than it had been in thousands of years. "Welcome to the future, Senator," she said. "It's going to be an interesting ride." Outside the window, a new type of ship was taking shape, one that had never existed before and might never exist again in exactly the same form. It was built by humans and coalition species working together, combining ancient wisdom with new ideas. It was beautiful in its imperfection, powerful in its adaptability, and revolutionary in its very existence. The galaxy had learned to change, and change, they discovered, was the most powerful force in the universe.